I also thought that I was always like an introvert, and I still think I am. What I've realized is that sometimes there's some people who are introverts, but they can turn it on in certain situations. Um, and what I found about myself was that I am an introvert, but I can turn it on when it's required. I don't I don't, like to talk and be the loud person all the time. But sometimes it is required for you to do so, especially in certain, professional settings. When I joined Opera for the first 6 months, I didn't do any talk. In fact, there were other people saying, "Hey, when are you going to do a talk? You're an evangelist. What's happening?" and stuff like that. I was just observing people. I was just immersing myself. I was trying to take a look at, I didn't want to be a bull in a china shop and start, I having no idea of how professional presentations are done in the industry. I don't want to, come in and sort of, do my own thing without seeing what others are doing. So for the first 6 months, I was just taking a look at what others are doing. How are they structuring their thoughts? How are they presenting? How much time do events generally give speakers? How much time to take for questions? How do you deal with that was a big thing. How do you deal with questions? Are people going to be like, are people going to have like gotcha questions and stuff like that? How do we prepare for those things? What if people ask a question and you don't know the answer? How do you respond? So those are so many different things that I was nervous about as well. And I wanted to essentially observe and immerse myself and see, okay, how are other people doing it? Maybe I can, learn something from others and then, you know, synthesize that with my own thoughts as well, because you want to also find your own voice. And that was one of the things that I wanted to also do in the first 6 months. I was making draft presentations and I just wasn't going and presenting, but I was, having my own thoughts and structuring them myself and trying to find my own voice. If I have to present upon this topic, how would I do that? And all those kind of things. So yeah, though that was the initial thing. But overall, coming back to your original point, what I found was that when it came to events, when it came to talking publicly about certain technical topics and stuff like this, I was more than happy to do so. But in a general setting, I was a little bit more reticent. So it was good because most of the time I wasn't presenting. I was actually working in some of the other non-speaking sort of activities in my job. But every once in a while, I had that itch of, okay, I've done enough of this. Now I need to present to others and sort of reach out to them, connect, and all those kind of things. So I did that as well.
That's like such a contrarian sort of point of view in the sort of product and startup space. And what I mean by that is that typically a lot of this sort of general blanket startup advice is do first and think later and learn as you go. Whereas you had like a typical sort of like, not a typical, but you had like this sort of contrarian view in that context of let me observe first. Let me understand what are the challenges and some of the potential, impediments that might come in my way. Let me prepare and find my voice, just like an athlete might prepare for a marathon. Mm-hmm. And so you sort of prepared first, and then you sort of, took the next step. So I actually really find that really fascinating. In fact, I feel like that should be the norm, that you should prepare, do the study, do the research, and then sort of make that first attempt. Do you want to expand on that a little bit more, or?
Yeah, I mean, there are two thoughts. One is, if you remember, like Dave Chappelle, that he started really, really early. But when he was talking about his journey, he also mentioned that for the first year or so, he was just attending, comedy clubs. He wasn't going on. He was just taking a look at, different comics, how, different kinds of comics, what is the joke structure about, what are the things that people laugh at, what are the things that people don't laugh at, how are people killing, how are people bombing. And then afterwards, he came on set and he killed from the first time onwards.
I'm so glad that you brought up that example, because first, I'm a big fan of Dave Chappelle and stand-up comedy. And then two, the fact that there is so much merit in doing the homework, preparing, and then executing.
Yeah, it's just immersion, right? I mean, you just want to, without any specific agenda, sort of like immerse yourself and sort of observe, actively try to see, okay, what are the things that are working and what are the things are not, without going for a specific goal, right? Just being a student of the craft, and then take the next leap. So, and this is one of those things that I also tell like upcoming product managers, even if they're like seasoned product managers who are entering a new job, like a new company, don't start making decisions from day one, right? Observe in the first 30 days. Don't start to ruffle the feathers. Just try to see, just try to find your way around the team, try to develop rapport, try to see how things are done currently, try to understand the strategy and where people are coming from, instead of just coming in once again as a bull in a china shop. You should not do that. So that's just one of the pieces of advice that I give a lot of people as well, especially the younger people who are a little bit more eager to make their mark. And yeah, sometimes it may not be the best way to go about things. So yeah, if doing a little bit of that homework, immersing yourself, and then taking a look towards action would be something that I generally recommend.
I totally agree with that point. I think that not only applies to like product managers, but even as like a creative leader or sales leader, whatever that position is, especially if it's a senior position and you're leading a team and you get brought into or dropped into a new team or new setting, is go first and observe what's happening, look at the data, how are they performing, talk to the people, what are their challenges, before jumping into solving those problems. So it's like almost saying you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't even exist.